like to show you how to make some different colors of horses. I wanted to start with, I would start with a brown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you that I have yellow, red, and blue. Now I tried to pick reds that have a little more magenta. Magenta's this tone of more pink color to it. It mixes a better purple if you wanted to go for purple for my primaries. So I have yellow, then the cerulean, or sorry, yellow, and pyrrole red and cerulean blue. And the cerulean blue, it's more towards a cyanish color, and these are like the colors you see in your ink printers at home. So anyways, I'm going to start out by mixing an orange. I want to get a brownish tone, so I'll start with a little bit of my yellow. I'm going to put in a little less of our red tone because Palominos lean a little toward the yellow color. I'm going for a brownish kind of a color. I'm going to be mixing with white. I'm trying to get a little bit of an orange going here. I'm going to take a little more yellow. I'm looking for a yellow-orange kind of color and just a tiny bit of our blue. And it looks green at first, but as I stir, it should be starting to get a little bit of a brownish look to it. Sometimes it takes a bit to stir. If it still looks too green, I'll be putting a little bit more of my red in it. So as I look at it, it looks kind of like a murky, kind of a khaki color. So that's about it. And I'm going to take some white and I'm going to stir that in. You can use a palette knife if you want to do this stirring. Now Palominos are pretty awesome. In the winter, they're very creamy colored. When they shed out in the spring, they get darker, more like this kind of a color. It's kind of a yellow. I think of them as a buttery kind of a colored horse. I'm going to dunk my brush in the water because I'm going to thin it down. It's going to be more of a watercolor style. I'm using this is the drawing that I did. It's a free video. It's only about 13 minutes long on how to draw a full body of a horse. If you want to go grab that video, it's on my link tree. You can go in through my bio in Facebook and on Instagram and on TikTok, and you can get that for free, and you can draw your own horse. This, I just printed it very small. I was trying to get it a little thinner, and my brush is really loaded because I mixed with my brush. So I wanted to do a little more of a watercolor deal to it. So Palomino has white mane and tail. And just going to go down the legs with it. Their muzzle is real dark on a Palomino. Generally, if it's a cremello, it's a little lighter, and if you wanted to make it lighter, you just would add a little more white. So because I added a little more water to this, it's more like a watercolor style. It's not archival. This is just for fun. And if you wanted to add a little bit of the darker tone to the muzzle, you could go ahead and do that. I'm going to thin that down a little bit more too. This is a very small painting here. And it's almost a little out of control there, guys, but I just take my paper towel and do a little dab to it and get it under control again. So I wash my brush in one can and then rinse it in another. I really want to get it clean. So then you can go in and you can take your white and add it to the tail and to the mane. And there you have a Palomino. Now you can also go ahead and add to the dark to its feet. You can go ahead and do all of that if you want. And I may just go in and do that too quick. So I'll put in a little bit on its feet. Going quick. Lost that foot. And here's the other one. And maybe even touch its eye real careful. And there's your Palomino. I'm going to wash and rinse, and I'm going to go on to, this is a Buckskin. If you want, you could take a marker or something and you can go ahead and write that down. And this will be a Buckskin. I dabbed a little water there. I'll slide it over a little further. Now, Buckskin is very, I always think of a Buckskin as being like a Palomino, only it has all dark mane and tail and darker points, and it has a dorsal stripe that goes down its back, which I just think is so beautiful. So I'm going to do the same kind of thing. And here's the darker points. Go down its leg. Just take, when I'm going down the legs, I just take my brush and just take it on the angle of the leg. It just is, it's easy, it just works real easy. And when I'm thinning with water, my shadows will show through. So there it is. And the Buckskins are often called duns, a dun. So all we have to do is get some of the darker points on it. Its tail, I need a little more water to thin that down. So we'll put on its tail and its mane. Its forelock, you can paint its muzzle a little darker if you want to. Give it its hooves. You won't generally see that dorsal stripe on a side view. But there it is. There's a Buckskin. Now the next one we'll do is a bay. Bay. And I can show you by remixing it, and I think that's what I'll do just to keep it simpler. I could also, oh, never mind, I won't go there. I'll just remix it. I'm going to go with a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow. It won't need as much yellow because I'm going for a darker brown. So I just want a nice, rich orange. And that is a really, looks almost fluorescent looking. Just a little dab of the blue and then stir it. Now I think I'm going to need more. I can see it already. And here comes the brown, getting a nice rich brown. That's like a blood bay color. It's got a lot of red. And this one, I was going to actually do blood bay. Blood bay. So I'm just going to jump over to blood bay. I'm going to put a little bit more water on this brush. I want it to go more like a watercolor. Just trying to show you, this is an older brush of mine. I'm just going to show you, oh, put on the wrong one. Go ahead and just brush on that color. It's a red. The blood bay is more of a redder tone, and it's more like a chestnut, only has darker points. It has the dark face, the dark ears. There we go. If you go outside of your lines, don't worry. Your paper towel often will just lift it off. This is a time when I should just jump over to a larger brush. I could go quicker. I don't know if quicker is always better. Let's go in. Send it through. Now it's going to also need, it's going to need dark points. So I'm going to need to go in there with my black. So actually what I'm using is a burnt umber instead of the black, but you'll see it'll do its job. So there's the dark, the black. And my brush has a little bit of that blood bay coloring on it, so it wants to throw it a little browner. I'm going to throw in some dark tips on the ears, a little bit of dark for the muzzle, dark for the legs and the hooves. If you want to leave socks, you can always leave socks. And remember that the foot will be more of a whiter, pinker, tanner color if you're leaving it for a sock. Okay, so there is a blood bay. Now, because a blood bay is so much like the color of a chestnut, this was going to be my chestnut down here. So I'll just slide my paper up a little bit and I'll just put chestnut on there. And let's go and paint our chestnut. So the chestnuts are fun because they're all pretty much one solid color. They're usually like a copper penny, and they're this color often. There's different variations, slight variations to the colors, but just giving you the idea. There's the chestnut. And throw in the tail. The mane. My riding instructor calls them redheads. I love it because it suits them. They do look like redheads. They're beautiful too. So then go in and add a little bit for their feet. Be darker feet. Getting a little sloppy here, guys. Sorry. So right there, put in. Now I'm back to the bay. Now the bay, I need to add a little bit more of my blue to this brown to make it a deeper brown, to get that red out of it. The blue's gonna neutralize that red a little bit. Give it a brown look. So let's see how that's coming. I think it needs just a little bit more. Yeah, there it is. I'm going to thin it a little bit. There. Putting on my dark. This is like my horse that I have. His name is Dave, and he is a bay. He matched my other horse that I had named Arthur, and he was also a bay, only much larger than Dave. And they had the same exact sock and the same exact star. It was like Dave was a miniature of Arthur. But Dave was more talented. So, keep trying to move this around, Now I put a little bit of extra water on there, and that's almost too much. And if that happens to you and you get too much on there, just take your towel and roll it up so it's just got a small end, and just use your towel to kind of, I say vacuum it off. Just pull it off of there. Just be careful when you go in so you don't make a blop. And if you do, so what? This is all practice and it's all for fun. And I'm going to go down that other back leg. Now the bay has the dark points just like this blood bay will have. I'm going to be putting it on the dark points at the same time. So here we go, putting on the darker points, and I'm going to get a little more water on there. This doesn't want to move for me. Putting on the darker points. So that tends to go down the leg. And put on darker mane. Now this is a raw umber. I can make it look blacker by adding a little bit of my blue to it. Raw umber is more of a deep brown color. We add a little more blue to it, kind of make it a little darker, a little grayer. Let's see what we got there. Okay, so his muzzle's going to need to have a little bit of dark on there also. I forgot the forelock. Okay, now same here. I'm going to send it down. Playing more with colors today. So then this last one is going to be a gray color. And of course, you all know how to make gray. But I'm using a little burnt umber here, so we'll see how this goes. I added a little bit of my blue to it. So I'm adding white with that. I'm going to add a little bit of my blue to it. Doesn't want to grab. There we go. A little bit more of that blue to it. And there's a nice looking gray there. Add a little water. And I think my brush had still brown left on it. I didn't wash it. Rinse it very well. Rinse it in that one. Go back in, reload. There's some gray. And often they have the dark points too. Some of your grays lean more toward red tones, like a roan kind of look. But right now it's just going to be a basic gray. Yeah. Try to be more accurate going down these legs than I have been. I've been going a little kind of crazy trying to get this done quick, and I don't know if quick is really the way to go. Not when you want accurate, right? So there's the head, the ears. Now my original drawing for you on the horse was larger. I should have probably just pulled out that instead of using these little ones. The feet are getting a little wonky looking. You can add some darker points too if you want to the legs. It depends on what your gray looks like. If your gray has the darker points, they vary in color. I'm going to put the elbow in there. I kind of lost it in there. And I've got to rinse and put on the mane and tail. So back to my gray, throwing on the mane and tail. And sometimes for a while, the actual color of the mane and tail will be darker than the gray itself. It depends on how the horse ends up coloring out. But anyways, there it is. Palomino, Buckskin, Bay, Blood Bay, Chestnut, and Gray. Sounds like an old song that I used to sing. All the pretty little horses. So it's real quick, just a quick coloring guide on how to mix your colors. If you just have your yellow, red, blue, your black, and your white, and there it is, real quick. They're all just very simple horses to emulate. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.